Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Legal Mindset with Wagisha Shambhavi. So in my last lecture I have already given the introduction of laws. Today we will start with sources of law. So sources of law means the roots of law. Sources means the roots of law. It basically is where the law comes from, where does it originate from. Okay, now sources of law can be majorly categorized into two parts, that is the traditional or the ancient sources and the modern sources. Traditional or the ancient sources are the sources जो हम पहले से adapt कर रहे हैं from the pre-existing times. So traditional or ancient sources are the sources that we adapt or inherit from our ancestors. And then the modern sources comes, which are the sources which we find today, sources of law that we see today. Now when we come to traditional sources, there are majorly four types of traditional sources. First is shruti. Shruti, as the word suggests, it is derived from a Sanskrit word, and shruti means to hear. Shruti means to hear. So it basically means that the source of knowledge that we have inherited or obtained from the earlier generations or our ancestors by hearing them, which is not mentioned in a written format, by hearing them, they come under Shruti. So they are also sources of forming today's law. See, basically laws are set of rules that govern our social behavior. Fine. So laws always have to be one which supports the social life or life of people, or which supports the to maintain peace in the society. Fine. So Shruti means a way of law. Law is also a set of rules which governs the behavior. Shruti is a way of behavior that we have learned from the ancestors. श्रुति इज अ वे ऑफ बिहेवियर जो हमने सुनकर सीखा है कि दिस इज अ वे ऑफ बिहेवियर, दिस इज अ पैटर्न. See, before written format, oral format is more faster that we grab, or it is more feasible. It was more feasible in olden times when we did not know how to read and write, or when reading and writing was not like a regular course for people. Mostly they were knowledge transfers, mostly they transferred their knowledge through or conveyed their knowledge and thoughts through words which were spoken and heard. Fine. आज भी बच्चों को पहले बोलना और सुनना आता है, बाद में लिखना आता है. So earlier, first if we talk in olden days, we first knew how to speak and hear. So Shruti is basically the knowledge that we gain by hearing our ancestors or previous generations, what they have to say, what they have to teach us about social behavior, about how to lead a good life, what to follow, okay, what to look up to when we are leading a life, what kind of behavior to look up to. That all things, when we hear, it is under Shruti, it comes under Shruti. I will give one example. For example, the Vedas, they were written later on. Vedas are were first spoken, heard, and transferred in this sense. The Rig Ved, the Yajur Ved, etc. were transferred in this sense. The knowledge of the Vedas were transferred through speaking and hearing. Fine. Then next comes the Smriti. Smriti is, one example is Manu Smriti. Manu Smriti. Manu was the first jurist, we can say, first person to speak about law or to make a written format of law. Fine. So Smriti is basically something that we have learned and memorized. The word Smriti is again inspired by a Sanskrit word, and Smriti means to remember. Smriti means to remember. Okay, Shruti means to hear, Smriti means to remember. So when we read something and we remembered it, or when we had an access to some knowledge and we remembered it and transferred it to our next generations, then that knowledge is Smriti. It is the second traditional source of current laws, fine, of making laws. So these are knowledge that we have got from our ancestors in the form of Shruti, Smriti, etc., are very much relevant in shaping our current laws. Why? Because these knowledge also told us about the behavioral patterns in the society. How should we behave? What should be our conduct in the society? What should be our culture that we follow in the society? So this Shruti, Smriti, and the third one is customs. Customs means a behavioral pattern. Customs means, see, I'm writing here, behavioral pattern that is continuously, see, behavioral pattern you understood, I'm writing in short, continuously followed for minimum of 30 years. When can we tell a behavioral pattern to be our custom? Behavioral pattern क्या होता है? मेरा behavior है, किसी और का behavior, आपका behavior. तो एक बिहेवियर को, ऑफ एक वे ऑफ बिहेविंग को हम कस्टम कब कह सकते हैं? वे ऑफ बिहेविंग को हम कस्टम तब कह सकते हैं जब वो कंटिन्यूसली, फर्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट, कंटिन्यूसली इट शुड बी फॉलोड. सेकेंड, फॉर अ मिनिमम पीरियड ऑफ 30 ईयर्स, कम से कम 30 साल या उससे ज्यादा टाइम से वो कंटिन्यूसली फॉलो हो रहा हो, देन वी कॉल इट कस्टम्स. एंड ऑल्सो देर आर फ्यू अदर पॉइंट्स ऑल्सो ऑफ कस्टम. Minimum for 30 years and continuously, it should be moral. Fine. Customs should be behavioral practices that are moral in nature. It should not be immoral. Okay, any custom should not be immoral, and it should be accepted in society. Accepted means like universally accepted, or at least it should be accepted by the society you live in. Sometimes we are not aware about different customs universally, but yeah, the customs that we follow should be firstly continuously followed in our family. It should be continuously followed. Second, for a minimum time period of 30 years. Third, it should not be immoral in nature. And then fourth one, it should be accepted by the society. That conduct which we follow as custom should be accepted by the society. One more important thing, custom has nothing to do with religion or faith. Okay, customs can be different from family to family, from area to area. Okay, it can also differ from family to family. Why? Because it does not have a religious backing, or it does not depend upon the religion you follow or the faith you follow. That is independent of customs. Each, in a single religion also, there can be different customs which are being followed at different places. Fine. For example, if we talk about the way of marriage, the customs in a Hindu marriage. So we have many kinds of Hindu marriage. Okay, some customs of some places are different from customs of other places. So customs can also differ from family to family. Then the fourth one is digest. Digest is basically written documented form of knowledge, written or documented form of knowledge that we receive from our ancestors or previous generations is called as digest. For example, Gita, you can take the example of Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata. Okay, so digests are written written commentaries or documents. Fine. Digests are written commentaries or documents. So Shruti is an oral knowledge, Smriti is again an orally transferred knowledge, customs are orally transferred knowledge. Fine. They are not written anywhere. Now you can write it down also, but they are not transferred from one generation to another generation in a written format. And then comes digest, which is transferred from generation to generation in a written format. For example, you take Gita. Okay, fine. Example of Shruti, Vedas. Example of Smriti is Manu Smriti. Manu, I told you, one of the first jurists or one of the first legal thinker or rule maker. Manu was a king basically. He was the first among the lawmakers. So Manu Smriti is a written example of Smriti. Then it is a written documented piece of knowledge right now, but it was then a oral medium of transfer. Then customs. Customs are again unwritten, and then digests. Digests are written or documented knowledge which is transferred in written form. Fine. Then we come to the modern sources of law. Modern sources of law includes legislation. Legislation means laws, already existing laws. So what can be the example of an already existing law being used as a source? One of the major and most important source of making laws in legislation is the Constitution of India. Constitution. Fine. All the law that are coming to force, that are being made, should be in accordance with the provisions of Constitution of India. And if it is not in accordance with the provisions of Constitution of India, then to that extent it will be nullified or removed. Fine. तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन क्या है? हमारे इंडिया का सुप्रीम लॉ है, और सुप्रीम पावर जो है वो किसी इंस्टीट्यूशन को ना देके हमारे जो लीडर्स हैं उन्होंने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को दिया है, सो दैट द चांस ऑफ करप्शन इज zero, cut down in this form, that if supreme power is given to any particular body of individuals, that there is a chance that body acts arbitrarily. बट आर्बिट्रली मतलब अपनी मनमर्जी चलाना शुरू कर सकते हैं. बट अगर हम किसी, जैसे नाउ इन करंट सिनेरियो, आवर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया होल्ड्स द अटमोस्ट पावर और द मैक्सिमम पावर इन द नेशन. तो जो और लॉज होते हैं वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को ध्यान में रखते हुए उसके अकॉर्डेंस में ही बनाए जा सकते हैं. फाइन. तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन is a legislation that is a modern source of law. Then next we have judicial precedents. Judicial precedents means pre-existing judgments. Judicial precedents means judgments. Pre-existing कैसे? अब obviously अगर हम उसको एज अ सोर्स ऑफ लॉ ले रहे हैं तो वो प्री एग्जिस्ट तो करना चाहिए. तो जो भी जजमेंट्स होते हैं जो ऑलरेडी पास्ड हैं, सपोज आई एम कंटेस्टिंग अ केस राइट नाउ इन कोर्ट, तो अगर मेरे मैटर से मिलता जुलता सिमिलर फैक्ट्स का एक कोई और मैटर है विच इज बीइंग डिसाइडेड बाय अ कोर्ट अर्लियर, तो आई कैन यूज इट एज अ दैट जजमेंट एज अ रेफरेंस इन माय करंट केस टू शो द ऑनरेबल कोर्ट की ये इस तरीके से ये जजमेंट पास हो चुकी है, तो इन लाइट ऑफ दिस आई वुड लाइक टू रिक्वेस्ट माय जजमेंट. तो उसको क्या बोलते हैं? जुडिशियल प्रेसिडेंट्स. प्रेसिडेंट्स का मतलब होता है एग्जाम्पल्स जो सेट किए जाते हैं. फाइन. जुडिशियल प्रेसिडेंट्स मतलब ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग प्री एग्जिस्टिंग जजमेंट्स, जिसको हम लोग केस लॉज भी बोलते हैं. जुडिशियल प्रेसिडेंट्स को हम लोग केस लॉज भी बोलते हैं. एंड जो हम लोग लैंडमार्क जजमेंट्स पढ़ते हैं लॉ में, डिफरेंट लैंडमार्क जजमेंट्स, व्हाट आर दे? एक्चुअली दे आर जुडिशियल प्रेसिडेंट्स, है ना. एक प्रेसिडेंट सेट हुआ है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर मैं एक एग्जांपल दूं, एक केस है ललिता कुमारी वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ यूपी. दिस केस डिफाइंस एफआईआर, जीरो एफआईआर. दिस केस डिफाइंस जीरो एफआईआर. सो मतलब इसकी जजमेंट में द जज डिफाइंड जीरो एफआईआर. नाउ व्हेन वी स्टडी द क्रिमिनल लॉ आई विल एक्सप्लेन यू मोर, बट ये एक जजमेंट में डिफाइन किया गया, तो वो जजमेंट क्या बन गया? जुडिशियल प्रेसिडेंट. नाउ आगे से उसके बाद से जब एक जीरो एफआईआर फाइल हुआ तो और या एक जीरो एफआईआर का रेफरेंस यूज हुआ कोर्ट में, तो then we can use the Lalita Kumari versus State of UP case as the judicial precedents. Then the final one is justice, equity and good conscience. Justice means fair treatment. ठीक है, justice क्या होता है? न्याय. न्याय means fair treatment. Fair treatment with both the parties or among all the people. तो जस्टिस होना चाहिए. लॉज शुड बी जस्ट इन नेचर. जस्ट मीन्स फेयर. ओके, लॉज शुड बी फेयर, अनबायस्ड. लॉज शुड बी फेयर इन नेचर, unbiased in nature and neutral. Fine. It should not support any of the party, either of the parties. So it should be neutral in nature. Now equity means equal opportunity. Okay, laws should be such that it gives equal opportunity to people. Now this equality, equal opportunity, etc. in law is, again, as I said in my last lecture also, is a big word and needs a description of 15-20 minutes. I will explain it in my next lecture. Then good conscience. Good conscience means a good mindset, a positive mindset, pure intention. Okay, so it should not have a negative intention. It is a positive mindset. So the laws which are made should be made with positive mindset, which means the good conscience. Good conscience means in a good space of mind, in a positive space of mind. Fine. So these are all the sources of law, and any creation of a new law should be considering the traditional and modern sources of law. Okay, I hope all of you have understood. If any of you are having any doubts, please write it down in the comment section. I will discuss it in my next lecture. Also, there are two important words which I will be starting in my next lecture. That is, one is equality in law and the other one is intention. These both words are needing some kind of description before we proceed further. So I will explain it in my next lecture and then move further. I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe, share my channel and write down the doubts in the comment section. I will discuss it in the next class. Thank you so much.